They always said the sea held more than wreckage and bones, that it remembered things best left forgotten. That night, we weren't chasing ghosts. We were on a routine scan off the Indian Ocean, just another patrol. But when sonar picked up, the outline of a sunken submarine with no flag, no number, and no mention in any naval records. Something changed. The water felt heavier, the radios crackled with whispers. And when we sent divers down to inspect the hull, one of them came back changed. Or maybe it wasn't him at all. That was the night the ocean. I was a sonar technician on the USS Oak Ridge, 1943, mid-Pacific patrols. The war had grown teeth, and every crewman on board had lost something. Family, comrades, parts of themselves. The sea didn't care. It took and in return gave silence. Cold, deep silence. On the third day of our assignment, the sonar ping caught something. Metal, large and silent, resting at about 200 fathoms. It wasn't a whale nor a rock formation. We knew that sound, it was a submarine. But what struck us was the frequency echo, identical to a US Navy signature. That couldn't be. There were no friendly subs scheduled in our quadrant. Captain Thorne ordered us to circle the location. The water was too deep for a safe dive, but we launched a remote cable cam. The feed was grainy, murky blue, drifting plankton, and then, there it was. A submarine tilted on its side, hull partially buried in silt, but there were no markings. No ID code, no rust even. Just pristine, unaging metal. It didn't look like it had been down there for long. Yet the design, God help me, it looked outdated, like a prototype from before the war. Someone whispered it out loud. The Argonaut. The name fell like lead in the control room. The USS Argonaut was declared missing in 1942. Destroyed by Japanese depth charges. We all knew it. Officially, she was gone. So why was she here? That night, the air changed. The sea became unnaturally calm, the kind of stillness that presses against your skull, making you feel like you're already underwater. Radios buzzed with static, and some of the guys swore they heard Morse code tapping through the hum. I heard it too. It came through the sonar headset. Faint clicks, regular, deliberate. I wrote them down, translated them. One line repeated every 3 hours: do not descend. Captain Thorne didn't believe in ghosts, but he did believe in caution. He radioed command, sent them footage, and ordered a 24-hour perimeter watch. But no one could sleep. The temperature inside the Oak Ridge dropped. Instruments glitched. One engineer swore he saw shadowy figures in the reflection of the mess hall window, moving like they were still working. Tools in hand, heads bowed. Then one of the deckhands, Keller, went missing. We found his boots by the railing. His dog tags were in his bunk. No one had seen him go overboard, no splashes, no alarms, just gone. The sea had taken him. But I didn't believe that. Something else had. At dawn, command gave us new orders. Attach a depth line and try to breach. The Argonaut's hatch with remote tools. The dive team suited up. We watched from the control room as the submersible drone descended. The Argonaut lay motionless, half sunken, like it had been watching us all night. Then the hatch opened. No mechanism, no remote tool contact. It just opened. Slowly, deliberately, as if welcoming us. A strange pressure hit the ship, like a current had surged up from the deep and wrapped around us. Instruments blacked out. The drone camera fed only static, then a brief image. A man in uniform inside the sunken sub, staring directly at the lens. His face was pale, bloated, but his eyes were open, aware. The image cut out. We pulled the drone up, but the tether came back slack, cleanly severed. Thorne lost it. He locked down all further dive ops. But something had already crossed over. That night I saw Keller in the corridor. He wasn't breathing. His skin was soaked, lips cracked, eyes bloodshot. But he stared at me, mouth slowly moving in a whisper. I couldn't hear. I blinked and he was gone. We tried to leave, engines at full thrust, direction set northwest. But the Oak Ridge didn't move. We weren't stuck. We weren't anchored. It was like the sea itself held us in place. Then came the voices. Not from the radio, but inside the ship, from the lower decks. Whispered commands, crying, metal doors, opening and closing with no one there. The ship's lights flickered, then dimmed to red, as if we were submerged in blood. Men began losing it. A gunner shot himself in the arm, claiming he saw the Argonaut's crew in the torpedo bay. Another man jumped into the water and never surfaced. The captain gathered what few of us remained and tried one last thing. He called out to the Argonaut on an open frequency. "What do you want?" he said. A moment later the sonar screamed. Not in echo, but in a voice. Through static, through trembling distortion. "Join us." And then nothing. The pressure lifted. The engines restarted. We pulled away. 3 days later we reached the fleet rendezvous. We gave them everything. Footage, sonar data, the logs. The Navy classified it all. They told us the Argonaut was never found. That what we saw was a hallucination, a trick of light, of pressure. But we know better. Sometimes in dreams I still hear the tapping, and I see the pale face behind the hatch. The sea doesn't forget, it only waits.